Jake Morrison stood at the large window of Haven 7 station and watched the alien ship approach. The vessel moved like liquid metal through space, its surface shifting and changing color as it came closer. 6 months ago, humanity had made first contact with the Velnari Empire. 6 months ago, everything had changed. The station buzzed with activity around him. Diplomats, scientists, and military officers rushed through the corridors. Everyone knew how important this meeting was. The Velnari controlled 12 star systems and had technology that made human achievements look like stone tools. If this went wrong, Earth might not survive. Jake adjusted his dark blue diplomatic uniform and checked his watch. Princess Zarathis would arrive in 20 minutes. He had studied everything they knew about her people. The Velnari were tall and graceful, with skin that glowed and changed color. They could read minds and share emotions with each other. They had never met a species that couldn't do the same. Captain Barry Collins approached Jake with a worried look on his face. "Are you ready for this, Morrison?" "Everything depends on these talks." Jake nodded. "As ready as anyone can be for something like this." He had 20 years of diplomatic experience. He had negotiated with dictators, terrorists, and corporate executives, but he had never dealt with aliens who could read minds. The docking bay filled with a soft blue light as the alien ship connected to the station. Jake walked toward the airlock with his small team. Dr. Lisa Chen, their xenobiologist, carried her scanner. Commander Pete Rodriguez kept his hand near his weapon, though they all knew it would be useless against Velnari technology. The airlock opened with a gentle hiss. The first thing Jake noticed was the sweet smell, like flowers after rain. Then he saw them. 3 Velnari stepped through the doorway. They moved with perfect grace, their long limbs flowing like water. Their skin had a pearl-like quality that shifted between soft blue and silver. But it was the woman in the center who drew Jake's attention. Princess Zarathis was beautiful in a way that made his breath catch. She stood nearly 7 feet tall, with long silver hair that seemed to move on its own. Her skin glowed with a soft golden light, and her eyes were the color of deep ocean water. She wore robes that looked like they were made of starlight. Jake felt a strange pressure in his mind. Like someone knocking on a door, he pushed the feeling away and stepped forward with a diplomatic smile. "Your Highness, welcome to Haven 7 Station. I am Jake Morrison, representing Earth's diplomatic corps." The princess stopped and looked at him with surprise. Her skin shifted to a deeper blue color. She spoke in perfect English, though her voice had a musical quality that made each word sound like a song. "Diplomat Morrison, I am Princess Zarathis of the Velnari Empire. I come seeking understanding between our peoples." Jake bowed slightly. "We share that goal, Your Highness. Please, allow us to show you to your quarters." As they walked through the station, Jake noticed how the princess kept looking at him. Her skin colors kept changing. Blue, silver, gold, then back to blue. Her 2 advisors, who hadn't spoken yet, moved closer to her, and their skin colors began to match hers. Dr. Chen had told Jake about this. The Velnari shared emotions through their skin colors and telepathic connections. When they were happy, their skin glowed brighter. When they were sad or confused, it dimmed. The fact that he couldn't see or feel what they were thinking was probably very strange to them. They reached the diplomatic quarters, which had been specially prepared for the Velnari delegation. The rooms had soft lighting and curved walls designed to make them feel more comfortable. Princess Zarathis looked around with what seemed like approval, though her skin remained that puzzled blue color. "These quarters are acceptable," she said. "When shall we begin our discussions?" "Tomorrow morning, if that suits you," Jake replied. "I thought you might want time to rest after your journey." The princess tilted her head. "Rest is not necessary. I am more interested in understanding your people. You are different than we expected." Jake felt that mental pressure again, stronger this time. It was like someone trying to open a locked door. He kept his expression neutral and his mind closed. "Different how, Your Highness? Your emotions are hidden from us. We cannot sense what you feel or think. This is unusual." One of her advisors, a tall male with skin like polished bronze, stepped forward. "Princess, perhaps they are unable to feel as we do. Many primitive species lack emotional depth." Jake felt a flash of anger at being called primitive, but he kept it off his face. "We feel emotions, just as you do. We simply express them differently." The princess studied him more closely. "Show me." "I'm sorry?" "Show me your emotions. Open your mind to us as we do with you." Jake shook his head. "I'm afraid that's not how humans work, Your Highness. We don't share our thoughts and feelings in that way." The princess's skin darkened to a deep purple color. Her advisors moved even closer to her, and their skin colors began to pulse in sync. Jake realized they were having some kind of silent conversation. "This is troubling," the bronze-skinned advisor said aloud. "How can we trust beings who hide their true selves? How can we negotiate with those who refuse to show honest emotion?" "With respect," Jake said, "we show our emotions through our words and actions, not through mental connections. Trust is built over time through honest dealing, not through forced intimacy." The princess looked at him with something that might have been curiosity. "Forced intimacy? Is that how you see emotional sharing, Your Highness? Humans value privacy of thought. We choose what to share and with whom. It's not that we're hiding anything dishonest. It's that we believe some things should remain private unless we choose to share them." The second advisor, a female with silver skin, made a sound like wind, chimes. "Perhaps they are afraid. Fear could explain their mental barriers." Jake felt his diplomatic training kick in. "Stay calm. Don't take offense. Find common ground. We're not afraid, simply different. Surely the Velnari Empire has encountered species with different customs before?" Princess Zarathis raised a hand, and her advisors fell silent. "We have, but none quite like humans. Your species intrigues me, Diplomat Morrison. You speak of trust and honesty, yet you will not open your mind to prove your words. And you speak of understanding, Your Highness, yet you seem to expect us to abandon our nature to accommodate yours." The room fell silent. Jake wondered if he had gone too far, but the princess's skin began to change again, cycling through several colors before settling on a warm amber glow. "You make a valid point," she said softly. "Perhaps we must find a different path to understanding." Jake felt some of the tension leave his shoulders. "That would be our hope as well, Your Highness." The princess moved closer to him, and Jake caught that sweet flower scent again. "Tell me, Jake Morrison, what do you feel when you look at me?" The question caught him off guard. He looked into her ocean blue eyes and felt that mental pressure again. This time it felt different. Not like someone trying to break down a door, but like a gentle hand reaching out in hope. "I feel curiosity," he said honestly, "and hope that we can find understanding between our peoples." Her skin dimmed slightly. "Is that all?" Jake realized this was some kind of test. He thought carefully about his words. "I also feel respect for someone who has traveled so far from home to seek peace, and I feel the weight of responsibility, knowing that both our species' futures may depend on these talks." The princess nodded slowly. "These are good feelings, but they are careful feelings, diplomatic feelings. They're honest feelings, Your Highness." She turned away from him and walked to the large window that looked out at the stars. "Among my people, when we meet someone new, we share ourselves completely. Joy, fear, hope, desire, all of it flows between us like water. In moments, we know each other as deeply as family members who have lived together for years." "That must be wonderful," Jake said, and he meant it. "It is. But it also means I have never met someone who could choose what to share with me. Every person I have ever known has given me their complete emotional self, whether they wish to or not." She turned back to him. "You are the first person who has ever been able to say no to me." Jake understood then that this wasn't just about diplomacy. The princess was lonely in a way that her people might never be able to understand. She was reaching out to him not just as a representative of humanity, but as someone who might offer her something she had never experienced. A connection based on choice rather than telepathic compulsion. "Your Highness," he said gently, "perhaps that's exactly what we need to build trust between our peoples. Not forced sharing, but chosen sharing. Not immediate understanding, but understanding earned over time. The princess's skin began to glow with a soft, warm light. You may be right, Jake Morrison. Perhaps this is why fate brought our peoples together. As Jake left the diplomatic quarters that evening, he realized that the next few days would be more complicated than he had imagined. The princess wasn't just interested in his species, she was interested in him personally. And despite his training, despite his duty to remain objective, he was finding himself interested in her as well. The question was whether that interest would help the negotiations or destroy them completely. 3 weeks had passed since Princess Zarathis arrived at Haven 7 Station. The negotiations were not going well. Jake sat in his small office, reading the latest reports from Earth. The news was troubling. Other Velnari officials had arrived during the second week, and they were losing patience with human behavior. Ambassador Keth Var, the princess's chief advisor, had made it clear that the Velnari Empire had other options. They could find another species to serve as intermediaries with humans. They could also simply absorb Earth into their empire for humanity's protection. Jake rubbed his temples and looked at the latest diplomatic cables. Earth's leaders were getting nervous. Some wanted him to be more flexible with the Velnari demands. Others wanted him to take a harder line. Everyone wanted results, but no one seemed to understand how difficult this was. A soft chime announced someone at his door. Come in. Princess Zarathis entered alone, which was unusual. Her skin glowed with a pale silver light, and she moved, with that liquid grace that always made Jake think of dancers or flowing water. She wore simpler robes today, deep blue like Earth's oceans. Your Highness? Jake stood and offered her a chair. I wasn't expecting you. I wanted to speak privately, she said, sitting down. My advisors believe I am making a mistake by continuing these talks. Jake sat across from her. What kind of mistake? They think humans are too cold, too closed. They say we should find a more emotionally compatible species to help us understand your people. Her skin dimmed as she spoke. Some suggest we should simply make decisions for Earth, since humans seem unable to make them efficiently. And what do you think? The princess looked at him with those deep blue eyes. I think they don't understand what they're seeing. They believe human emotional control means humans don't feel deeply. But I've been watching you, Jake Morrison. I've seen how your jaw tightens when Ambassador Kethvar speaks dismissively of your people. I've noticed how your eyes soften when you talk about protecting Earth. You feel everything. You simply choose not to show it. Jake was quiet for a moment. The princess was more observant than he had realized. Your people share emotions automatically, he said finally. For us, sharing deep feelings is something we choose to do with people we trust completely. It doesn't mean we don't have those feelings. I'm beginning to understand this, but my advisors see only the surface. Her skin shifted to a warmer gold color. They don't realize that your control is actually a form of strength. Before Jake could respond, an alarm began sounding throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors outside his office. Jake's communicator crackled to life. All personnel to emergency stations. We have ships approaching the outer marker. Unknown vessels, possibly hostile. Jake and the princess rushed to the command center, where Captain Collins was coordinating the station's response. The main screen showed 3 ships approaching Haven 7. They were smaller than Velnari vessels, with rough, angular designs. Pirates, Collins said grimly. They're broadcasting a demand for surrender. They want to capture the Velnari delegation. Jake felt cold fear in his stomach. How long until they reach us? 20 minutes. Our defenses can't stop 3 ships that size. Princess Zarathis moved to the communications console. Contact my ship immediately. Your Highness, Jake said. Your ship is 2 hours away. Not my escort vessel. My personal ship. She touched something on her wrist and lights began blinking on the console. I brought a small craft, hidden in your station's sensor shadow. The main screen changed to show a new contact appearing near Haven 7. Jake had never seen anything like it. The ship was small, maybe the size of a human shuttle, but it moved like a living thing. Its surface rippled and flowed, changing shape, as it accelerated toward the approaching pirates. Your Highness, Collins said, that ship is too small to engage 3 pirate vessels. The princess's skin began glowing brighter. Captain, you don't understand what you're looking at. On the screen, the princess's ship reached the pirates in seconds. What happened next made Jake's breath catch. The small Velnari vessel seemed to dance around the larger ships, its surface rippling with energy. Beams of light shot out in perfect precision. In less than 3 minutes, all 3 pirate ships were drifting in space, their weapons and engines destroyed. The command center was completely silent. Jake stared at the screen, trying to process what he had just witnessed. The princess's small ship could have destroyed a human fleet without breaking a sweat. "Pirates have been neutralized," the princess said calmly. "My ship is scanning for survivors." Jake turned to look at her. Her skin was still glowing, but now he realized it wasn't just light. It was power. The princess wasn't just royalty. She was personally dangerous in a way that made human military might look like children playing with toys. "Thank you," he said, quietly. "You saved everyone on this station." The princess looked at him with surprise. "Of course I did. These are our negotiations. These people are under my protection." Jake felt something shift inside his chest. She had risked herself and revealed capabilities that were probably secret, just to protect humans she barely knew. But when he looked around the command center, he saw something that worried him. The human officers were staring at the princess with a mixture of awe and fear. Captain Collins looked like he was calculating how many more ships like that the Velnari might have. The communications officer was already recording everything for his report to Earth Command. Jake realized that his first thought hadn't been gratitude. It had been analysis. He had immediately started thinking about the tactical implications of what he had witnessed. What did this mean for Earth's bargaining position? How many of these ships did the Velnari have? Could human technology ever match this kind of power? The princess was watching him closely. Her skin had dimmed to a pale blue color. "What are you thinking?" she asked. Jake hesitated. Honesty was usually the best policy in diplomacy, but this was complicated. "I'm thinking about what this means for our negotiations," he admitted. Her skin darkened further. Not about the lives that were saved, not about gratitude or relief. "Those too," Jake said. "But yes, I'm also thinking about the political implications." The princess turned away from him and walked to the large viewing window. "This is what my advisors mean about human coldness. I risk my life to protect your people, and your first concern is political advantage." Jake followed her to the window. "Your Highness, that's not fair. I am grateful, but I'm also responsible for humanity's future. If I don't consider the implications of everything that happens, I'm not doing my job." "Your job." She said the words, like they tasted bitter. "Always your job." "Yes," Jake said firmly. "My job is to protect my people and find a way for our species to coexist. That means I have to think about everything, even things I'd rather not think about." The princess turned to face him again. "Do you ever think about anything else? Do you ever just feel without analyzing?" Jake was quiet for a long moment. The honest answer was that he didn't know anymore. 20 years of diplomatic training had taught him to observe, analyze, and control his responses. It had served him well in negotiations with human opponents. But maybe it was making him miss something important here. "I don't know," he said, finally. "It's been a long time since I tried." Something in his tone made the princess's skin shift to a warmer color. "At least you're honest about it." Over the next few hours, Jake watched the princess coordinate the rescue of the pirate survivors and arrange for their ships to be towed away. She was efficient and compassionate, making sure the injured were treated and the prisoners were handled, according to human legal standards. But Jake also noticed other things. When Ambassador Kethvar arrived to investigate the incident, he spoke to the princess in their musical language. Jake couldn't understand the words, but he could see the ambassador's bronze skin flashing with sharp, angry colors. The princess's skin grew dimmer with each exchange. Dr. Chen, who had been monitoring Velnari communications, approached Jake quietly. "They're not happy about what happened," she said. "The ambassador is angry that the princess revealed military capabilities. He's also questioning whether humans can be trusted if pirates knew about the negotiations." Jake felt a sinking feeling in his stomach. What else? The princess defended her actions and defended humanity. But the ambassador is recommending that they end the talks and implement what he calls a protective oversight of Earth. That night, Jake found the princess alone in the station's observation lounge. She was staring out at the stars, her skin glowing with a soft, sad light. "Trouble with your advisors?" he asked, sitting down near her. "They want to end the negotiations. They think today proved that humans are too primitive to be trusted with their own decisions. And what do you think?" The princess looked at him. "I think humans are more complex than my people understand. When those pirates attacked, you could have panicked or hidden or begged for help. Instead, you immediately started thinking about how to protect your people and what the attack meant for our talks. That's not primitive, that's sophisticated." Jake felt something warm in his chest at her words. "Thank you." But it's also frustrating. Her skin shifted to a deeper blue. "I saved your station, and you analyzed the political implications. I try to understand your—" Dr. Lisa Chen found Jake in his quarters at 3 in the morning, staring at reports on his computer screen. She knocked on the doorframe and entered without waiting for permission. "You need to sleep," she said, sitting in the chair across from his desk. Jake looked up with tired eyes. "Can't sleep? Too much to think about?" "The negotiations? The princess?" Jake rubbed his face with both hands. "Lisa, I think I'm making a mistake. A big one." Dr. Chen had worked with Jake for 5 years. She knew him well enough to see when something was really bothering him. "Tell me." Jake turned his computer screen so she could see it. "I've been studying everything we know about Velnari culture. Look at this." The screen showed charts and diagrams about Velnari emotional sharing. Dr. Chen read quietly for a few minutes, then looked up at Jake with understanding in her eyes. "Oh," she said softly. "Yeah, oh." Jake leaned back in his chair. "For the Velnari, emotional sharing isn't just communication, it's how they form all their relationships. Friends, families, lovers, everyone shares their feelings telepathically. It's like breathing to them. And humans can't do it. Worse than that, I can resist it. The princess has been trying to connect with me emotionally for weeks, and I've been blocking her every time." Dr. Chen was quiet for a moment. "That's what your diplomatic training taught you to do. Resist mental influence." "But she's not trying to influence me. She's trying to connect with me." Jake stood up and walked to his small window. "Lisa, imagine if every person you ever met could only communicate by writing notes, but you could only communicate by speaking. How lonely would you be?" "Very lonely. The princess is the loneliest person I've ever met. She's surrounded by people who share their emotions automatically, but she can't choose who to connect with or how much to share. She's never had a private thought in her life." Dr. Chen looked at the data on the screen again. "And you're the first person she's met who could choose not to share with her." "Exactly. And instead of seeing it as a gift, the possibility of a relationship based on choice instead of compulsion, I've been treating it as a diplomatic problem to be managed." Jake turned back to Dr. Chen. "She asked me yesterday what I feel when I look at her. I gave her a political answer about curiosity and hope for our species, but that's not all I feel." "What else do you feel?" Jake was quiet for a long moment. "I think she's remarkable. She's intelligent and compassionate and brave. She risked her life to save this station, and when her advisors criticized her for it, she defended humanity even though it could cost her everything. And I'm attracted to her, not just because she's beautiful, though she is, but because of who she is." Jake sat back down. "But I can't act on any of that. If I let personal feelings affect these negotiations, I could destroy both our species." Dr. Chen leaned forward. "Jake, what if your personal feelings could help the negotiations instead of hurt them?" "What do you mean?" "The Velnari don't understand humans because they can't read our emotions. They think we're cold and unfeeling. But if the princess could understand that you do have deep feelings, that you're choosing to control them rather than lacking them, it might change everything." Jake shook his head. "It's too risky. If I lower my mental barriers and she sees how I really feel about her, it could compromise my objectivity. Or it could show her that humans are capable of the kind of emotional depth the Velnari value, while still maintaining the kind of control they need to learn." Before Jake could respond, his communicator chirped with an emergency signal. "Captain," Collins's voice crackled through the speaker. "All senior staff to the command center immediately. We have a situation." Jake and Dr. Chen rushed through the corridors to find the command center in chaos. Princess Zarathis stood near the main communications console, her skin flashing angry red and gold colors. Ambassador Kethvar faced her from across the room, his bronze skin pulsing with sharp, aggressive patterns. "What's happening?" "Jake," asked Captain Collins, "the Velnari delegation is splitting up. Half of them want to end the negotiations immediately. The princess is fighting to continue them." On the main screen, Jake could see 2 Velnari ships preparing to leave. Dr. Chen grabbed his arm. "Look at their skin colors. They're having a telepathic argument and it's getting heated." Jake watched the princess and her advisor. Their skin colors were flashing faster now, cycling through patterns of red, gold, and deep purple. Other Velnari officials had gathered around them, their skin colors joining the chaotic display. Suddenly, the princess turned toward Jake. Her skin had settled into a deep, angry red color. "Diplomat Morrison," she said in a voice that was tightly controlled, "Ambassador Kethvar has some questions for you." The bronze-skinned advisor stepped forward. "Human, we have been patient with your species' emotional limitations, but our patience is ending. Why should the Velnari Empire waste more time on beings who cannot even share their true feelings?" Jake felt the familiar diplomatic calm settle over him. "Ambassador, humans share their feelings through actions and words, rather than telepathic connection. This doesn't make us less capable of emotion." "Prove it," Kethvar said coldly. "I beg your pardon. Prove that humans have deep emotions. Open your mind to us. Show us what you truly feel." Jake felt trapped. If he refused, it would confirm everything the ambassador believed about human coldness. If he agreed, he would have to reveal feelings that could destroy his objectivity. He looked at Princess Zarathis. Her skin had faded to a pale, sad blue color. She was watching him with something that looked like resignation, as if she expected him to refuse once again. "I'm sorry," Jake said finally. "I can't do that." Ambassador Kethvar's skin flashed with satisfied gold. "As I expected, humans are incapable of true emotional connection." He turned to the princess. "This proves my point, Your Highness. We are wasting time with an inferior species." The princess's skin dimmed even more. She looked at Jake with disappointment and something that might have been heartbreak. "Perhaps you're right, Ambassador," she said quietly. Jake felt something break inside his chest. He was losing her. He was losing the negotiations. He was losing everything that mattered. "Wait," he said. Everyone in the command center turned to look at him. The princess raised her head, hope flickering in her blue eyes. "I said I can't open my mind to you telepathically, but I can tell you what I feel." Jake took a deep breath. "Dr. Chen, record this for the official negotiations log." Dr. Chen activated her recorder. Jake looked around the room at all the faces watching him, human and Velnari alike. "Ambassador Kethvar, you want to know what I feel? I feel fear. Not fear of you or your empire, but fear that I might fail in my duty to protect humanity. I feel the weight of 8 billion lives depending on these negotiations." Jake's voice grew stronger as he continued. "I feel respect for your princess, who has shown more courage and compassion in these weeks than most humans show in a lifetime. I feel gratitude that she saved this station when she didn't have to." The princess's skin began to brighten slightly. "I feel frustration that we can't seem to understand each other despite trying so hard. I feel hope that we can still find a way to make this work." Jake paused and looked directly at the princess. "And yes, I feel attraction to Princess Zarathis. Not just physical attraction, though she is beautiful, but attraction to her intelligence, her kindness, her strength." The room was completely silent. The princess's skin was glowing brighter now, cycling through shades of gold and warm blue. "But here's what you need to understand about humans," Jake continued, looking back at Ambassador Kethvar. "We feel all of these things at the same time. Fear and hope, duty and desire, professional respect and personal attraction, and we've learned to act based on what's best for everyone, not just on what we want in the moment." Ambassador Kethvar's skin had shifted to a puzzled bronze color. "You feel all of these things simultaneously?" "Yes. Right now I'm feeling gratitude that the princess is listening to me. Fear that I've just ruined the negotiations. Hope that you'll understand what I'm trying to tell you. And concern that I've revealed too much about my personal feelings." The princess moved closer to Jake. Her skin was glowing with warm golden light now. "This is what I've been trying to tell you all," she said to her advisor. "Humans don't lack emotional depth. They have incredible emotional complexity. Jake feels everything we feel, but he can hold multiple contradictory emotions at once and still make rational decisions." Dr. Chen stepped forward. "If I may, Your Highness, this is actually a key difference between our species. Velnari emotions seem to be shared and synchronized. When you're happy, everyone around you feels that happiness. But human emotions are individual and often conflicted." "Conflicted?" Ambassador Kethavar asked. Jake nodded. "I can feel attracted to the princess and still maintain professional boundaries. I can feel fear about these negotiations and still work to make them succeed. I can feel personal desires and still put duty first." The princess was staring at him now, with wonder in her blue eyes. "You feel attracted to me?" Jake felt his cheeks grow warm. "Yes, Your Highness. But I've been trying not to let that affect my judgment." "And this is what you call emotional control?" "Yes. It's not the absence of feeling. It's the ability to feel deeply while still thinking clearly." Ambassador Kethavar's. 2 days after Jake's emotional confession in the command center, things had changed dramatically. The Velnari ships that had been preparing to leave were still docked at Haven 7. Ambassador Kethavar had requested additional time to study human emotional complexity. But Jake was discovering that opening up had created new problems he hadn't expected. Princess Zarathis had become more interested in him personally than ever before. She sought him out constantly, asking questions about human emotions and relationships. Her skin glowed brighter whenever he was near, and she seemed to hang on his every word. Jake found it both flattering and deeply concerning. "You're in trouble," Dr. Chen said, as she joined Jake for breakfast in the station's dining hall. "She's falling in love with you." Jake nearly choked on his coffee. "That's not possible. We barely know each other." "Maybe not by human standards, but think about Velnari culture. For her people, emotional connection is instant and complete. The fact that you can choose what to share with her makes you irresistible." Jake looked across the dining hall to where Princess Zarathis sat with her advisors. Even from a distance, he could see her skin glowing softly. Every few moments, she would look in his direction, and the glow would brighten. "This is exactly what I was afraid of," Jake said. "Personal feelings are compromising the negotiations." "Are they? The talks are going better now than they have since she arrived." That was true. Yesterday's session had been the most productive yet. Ambassador Kethavar had actually seemed interested in human proposals for cultural exchange. But Jake couldn't shake the feeling that he was walking on dangerous ground. Captain Collins approached their table with a worried expression. "Morrison, we need to talk. Privately." Jake followed the captain to his office, where Collins activated a privacy screen that would prevent eavesdropping. "I just received a coded message from Earth Command," Collins said. "They're concerned about your relationship with the princess." Jake felt cold dread in his stomach. "What kind of concerns?" "The kind where they're wondering if you've been compromised. Your emotional confession was broadcast to every major government on Earth. Some people think you've gotten too close to her." "And what do you think?" Collins studied Jake carefully. "I think you're walking a very thin line. The princess is clearly infatuated with you. If you handle this wrong, it could destroy everything." "I know that." "Do you?" "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're attracted to her too." Jake was quiet for a moment. There was no point in denying something that was probably obvious. To everyone on the station, "Yes, I am attracted to her, but I'm not going to act on it." "Good. Because if you do, Earth Command will have you removed from these negotiations so fast your head will spin." After Collins dismissed him, Jake walked through the station's corridors feeling the weight of everyone's expectations. He had to maintain professional distance from the princess while still building the personal connection that seemed to be key to successful negotiations. It was an impossible balance. He found Princess Zarathis in the observation lounge, standing at the large window that looked out at the stars. She wasn't alone. Ambassador Kethavar stood nearby, his skin cycling through colors that Jake was learning to recognize as deep concern. "Diplomat Morrison," the ambassador said as Jake approached. "Perhaps you can help us resolve a disagreement." "I'll try." The princess turned from the window. Her skin was glowing with agitated gold and blue patterns. "My advisor believes I should..." end these negotiations and return home. Not because they're failing, Kethvar added quickly, because they're succeeding too well. Jake felt confused. I don't understand. The princess has become emotionally invested in you personally, the ambassador explained. This compromises her ability to make rational decisions about the negotiations. Princess Zarathus's skin flashed angry red. I am perfectly capable of separating my personal feelings from my official duties. Are you? Kethvar challenged. Yesterday you agreed to human proposals that you would have rejected a week ago. Today you're considering cultural exchanges that could fundamentally change Velnari society, all because you want to please one human male. Jake realized this was the same problem he was facing, just from the other side. Both he and the princess were struggling to balance personal attraction with professional responsibility. Your Highness, Jake said carefully, perhaps the ambassador has a point. We both need to be sure our personal feelings aren't affecting our judgment. The princess stared at him with shock. Her skin faded to a pale, hurt blue. You think I'm compromised too? I think we both are, Jake said honestly. And that makes these negotiations dangerous for both our species. The princess moved closer to him, her skin shifting to deeper blue colors. Jake Morrison, answer me honestly. Do you think I would risk my people's welfare for personal feelings? Jake looked into her ocean-deep eyes and felt that familiar mental pressure, but this time, he recognized it for what it really was. Not an attempt to control his thoughts, but a desperate need to be understood. No, he said quietly. I don't think you would do that. But I think you might make different decisions because you want to believe humans and Velnari can coexist peacefully. And is that wrong? Not wrong, but maybe not entirely objective either. The princess turned away from him and walked back to the window. Her skin had dimmed to almost gray. I see. So you believe I should end these negotiations and return home? I didn't say that. Then what are you saying? Jake looked at Ambassador Kethvar, who was watching this exchange with great interest. He realized that this conversation was as much a test as it was a discussion. I'm saying we need to find a way to be honest about our personal feelings without letting them control our professional decisions, Jake said. Your Highness, I am attracted to you. I respect you. I care about what happens to you. But I also have a duty to protect humanity. Those two things don't have to be in conflict. The princess turned back to him. Don't they? If protecting humanity means rejecting me personally, then how can I trust that you're negotiating in good faith? It was a fair question, and Jake didn't have a good answer. He thought about what Dr. Chen had said about human emotional complexity. Your Highness, do you remember what I told you about humans feeling multiple emotions at once? Yes. Right now, I'm feeling several different things. I'm attracted to you as a person. I'm concerned about you as someone I care about. I'm respectful of you as a diplomatic partner. And I'm protective of you as someone who's taking risks for peace. Jake paused. All of those feelings are real, and they're all happening at the same time. Ambassador Kethvar stepped forward. This is what we don't understand about humans. How can you feel all of these things without being paralyzed by conflicting emotions? Because they're not really conflicting, Jake said. They're all different aspects of caring about someone. I can be attracted to the princess and still negotiate fairly with her. I can care about her personally and still protect humanity's interests. I can want what's best for her and still do what's best for my species. The princess's skin began to brighten slightly. You're saying that caring about me makes you a better negotiator, not a worse one? I'm saying that understanding you as a person helps me understand what the Velnari Empire really wants. And knowing what you're risking to be here helps me appreciate how important these negotiations are. Ambassador Kethvar's skin shifted to a thoughtful silver color. Fascinating. So human emotional complexity allows for multiple loyalties without betraying any of them? Exactly. I can be loyal to my species and loyal to my personal relationships. I can protect humanity and care about individual Velnari at the same time. The princess moved closer to Jake again, her skin glowing with warm, gold light. And if I were to say that I feel the same way about you, that I care about you personally while still putting my people's welfare first? Jake felt his heart skip a beat. Your Highness, answer me honestly, Jake Morrison. If I told you that I've never met anyone who could make me feel chosen rather than simply accepted, what would you say? Jake was aware that Ambassador Kethavar was watching this exchange very carefully. He was also aware that his answer could determine the future of both their species. I would say that being chosen by someone like you would be an honor I'm not sure I deserve. The princess's skin began glowing so brightly that it cast shadows around the room. And if I were to tell you that your emotional strength and complexity fascinate me in ways I never expected, I would say that your courage and compassion have impressed me more than I thought possible. Ambassador Kethvar made a sound like wind chimes. Princess, I believe I understand now what you see in this. Human, the princess turned to her advisor. Do you? He cares about you enough to be honest with you, even when honesty is difficult. He respects you enough to treat you as an equal rather than trying to please you. And he values you enough to risk his own position to protect both your interests and his species' welfare. Kethavar's skin shifted to a warm bronze color. These are not the actions of someone who is emotionally compromised. These are the actions of someone who has integrated personal feeling with professional responsibility. The command center of Haven 7 Station buzzed with controlled chaos as Jake, Princess Zarathis, and Ambassador Kethavar arrived. Captain Collins stood at the main display, his face grim as he studied the approaching ships. Report, Jake said. 6 vessels. Configuration unknown. They're not responding to our communications, and they're not in any of our databases. Collins pointed to the screen. But they're definitely heading straight for us. Jake studied the display. The ships were sleek and angular, completely different from both human and Velnari designs. They moved in perfect formation, like a pack of predators. Princess Zarathis moved to the communications console and touched her wrist device. I'm contacting my ships. Your Highness, Ambassador Kethvar said, his skin flashing warning colors. Perhaps we should withdraw until we understand what we're facing. No. The princess's skin glowed with determined gold patterns. If these ships are here because of our negotiations, then running away won't solve anything. The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at the bridge of one of the approaching vessels. The figure that appeared made Jake's blood run cold. It was humanoid, but wrong somehow. Too tall, with joints that bent in strange directions. Its skin was pale gray, and its eyes were completely black. When it spoke, its voice had an electronic quality that made Jake's skin crawl. Attention organic species. You are in violation of hegemony space. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. Captain. Collins stepped forward. This is Captain Collins of Haven 7 Station. You are in human territory. Identify yourself. The creature on the screen tilted its head in a way that reminded Jake unpleasantly of an insect. I am Coordinator 7491 of the Synthetic Hegemony. Organic. Species are not permitted to establish contact without hegemony oversight. This violation will be corrected. Princess Zarathis moved closer to the screen. Synthetic hegemony? We have no records of such an entity. Your records are irrelevant. The hegemony has observed these negotiations between primitive organic species. Such contact is inefficient and dangerous. Both species will be brought under hegemony control for proper management. Jake felt a chill of understanding. Your artificial intelligences. We are the next step in evolution. Organic species are chaotic and unpredictable. They must be managed for their own protection and the stability of the galaxy. Ambassador Kethavar's skin was flashing rapid warning colors. Princess, my scans indicate these beings are entirely synthetic. Their ships are controlled by networked AI systems. The creature on the screen focused its black eyes on the princess. Velnari female, your emotional displays are particularly inefficient. You will be among the first to receive corrective modifications. Princess Zarathis's skin blazed with angry red light. You will not touch my people. Your preferences are noted and rejected. Surrender now, and corrective measures will be minimal. The transmission ended. Jake looked around the command center at the faces surrounding him, human and Velnari alike, all showing the same expression of determination mixed with fear. Options? Jake asked. Captain Collins shook his head. Our weapons are useless against 6 ships that size. The princess's vessel might be able to handle 1 or 2, but not all of them. Ambassador Kethvar was studying his own displays. Princess, I'm detecting energy signatures consistent with neural disruption technology. They plan to attack our minds directly. Jake realized they were facing something worse than conquest. The synthetic hegemony didn't just want to defeat them. It wanted to remake them into something else entirely. Your Highness, he said, can your people evacuate? Not all of them. My main ships are still hours away. The princess's skin shifted through rapid color changes as she thought. But Jake, there might be another way. What do you mean? The princess turned to Ambassador Kethvar. The neural disruption technology they mentioned, it would be designed to attack individual minds, correct? Most likely, yes. But what if the minds weren't individual? What if they were connected? Jake began to understand what she was thinking. You want to link our minds together. Velnari telepathic connections create a unified defense against mental attacks. If I could connect with both human and Velnari minds simultaneously, we might be able to resist their technology. Ambassador Kethvar's skin flashed alarmed colors. Princess, such a connection has never been attempted. The risks are enormous. The risk of doing nothing is worse. Jake looked at the tactical display. The synthetic hegemony ships would be in weapons range in less than 10 minutes. What would this connection require? He asked. The princess looked at him with her deep blue eyes. Complete trust. I would have to lower all my mental barriers and link with everyone on this station. And you would have to do the same. Jake understood the magnitude of what she was proposing. He would have to open his mind completely. Not just to her, but to every human in Velnari present. All his thoughts, feelings, and fears would be shared with everyone. Jake, Dr. Chen said quietly, if this works, you'll never have private thoughts again, at least not during the connection. And if it doesn't, we'll all be dead or worse. Captain Collins stepped forward. Morrison, this is your decision. You're the senior diplomat here. Jake looked around the command center. 43 humans and 12 Velnari, all depending on his choice. He thought about everything that had brought them to this moment. The negotiations, the cultural misunderstandings, the growing connection between him and the princess. Your Highness, he said, if we do this, what happens to us afterward? Will the connection be permanent? I don't know, she admitted. This has never been tried before. Jake realized that she was asking him to risk not just his life, but his fundamental humanity. If the connection couldn't be broken, he would never again be the individual person he had always been. But as he looked at the tactical display showing 6 enemy ships approaching, Jake knew there was really no choice at all. Do it, he said. Princess Zarathis nodded and moved to the center of the command center. Her skin began glowing brighter than Jake had ever seen it, casting everything in golden light. Everyone needs to lower their mental barriers completely, she said. Don't try to hide anything or protect any thoughts. Complete openness is the only way this will work. Jake felt the familiar mental pressure, but this time he didn't resist it. Instead, he opened his mind as wide as he could and felt the princess's consciousness flow into his thoughts. The sensation was overwhelming. Suddenly, Jake could feel everything the princess felt. Her fear for her people, her love for him, her determination to protect everyone on the station. But he could also feel her strength, her courage, and her deep well of compassion. Then other minds joined the connection. Dr. Chen's scientific curiosity mixed with maternal protectiveness. Captain Collins's military discipline combined with fierce loyalty to his crew. Ambassador Kethvar's ancient wisdom blended with surprising warmth. One by one, every person on the station joined the mental link. Jake found himself part of a collective consciousness that was still somehow individual. He was Jake Morrison, but he was also part of something larger and more complex than he had ever imagined. Through the connection, he felt the princess's amazement. She had expected to create a simple defensive link, but instead she had created something new. A hybrid consciousness that combined human emotional complexity with Velnari telepathic unity. The synthetic hegemony ships opened fire, their neural disruption weapons washing over Haven 7 station. But instead of finding individual minds to attack, the weapons encountered the linked consciousness Jake and the princess had created. The attack felt like static electricity washing over a superconductor. The unified mind absorbed the assault and channeled it harmlessly away. Through the connection, Jake felt Coordinator 7491's confusion and growing alarm. The synthetic hegemony had encountered organic species before, but they had never faced a truly unified consciousness that maintained individual identity. "Impossible," came the electronic voice over the communication system. "Organic minds cannot achieve stable network integration." Princess Zarathis spoke, but her voice carried the weight of 55 linked minds. "You are wrong. We are not a network. We are a community." The difference was crucial. The synthetic hegemony operated as a collective where individual identity was subsumed into the whole. But the consciousness Jake and the princess had created was something else entirely. Individual minds choosing to work together while remaining distinct. Through the link, Jake felt Dr. Chen's sudden understanding. "They can't comprehend us because we're doing something they thought was impossible. We're united, but not uniform." The synthetic hegemony ships launched a second attack, this one designed to overload the station's systems. But the linked consciousness was ready. Human tactical thinking combined with Velnari energy manipulation to create defenses that neither species could have achieved alone. Ambassador Kethvar's voice joined the collective communication. "Princess, they're trying to adapt their attacks to our defensive pattern." "Then we adapt faster," came the reply from dozens of voices speaking in perfect unison. The battle that followed was unlike anything in the history of either species. The linked consciousness fought not as individuals or as a collective, but as a community that could think and act with perfect coordination.